Sarah Fang and her Honolulu Museum of Art's Doris Duke Theater crew were wonderful hosts for opening night of the 2025 16th Annual Honolulu Surf Film Festival, which brought together friends and fans of surf photographer, cinematographer Larry Haynes. Larry passed away on February 9, 2023, while stand-up paddling on the North Shore. The sold-out crowd ate a wonderful buffet dinner, followed by Larry's film Fluid Combustion 3, Live It. A post-film discussion of Larry memories. Larry featured photographer friends Derek Hoffman, Brian Bielmann, Dave Homcy, and Hank Fotos. This film is an overview of the event and the full post-film panel.
Festival, bringing it back for the summer, and we could not do this without one of our longtime super loyal favorite sponsors, our major sponsor, Aqua Aston Hospitality. Thank you guys so much for always helping us. Thank you, and keeping this festival going. And we have another sponsor here with us tonight, the Surf News Network. Where are you, Gary? Thank you for helping us spread the word. Thank you so much, and I want to thank all of you for coming out and making this a sold-out event. So thank you for all of your support. Now, this festival is a behemoth of a program. I do believe we are one of the longest and biggest surf film festivals anywhere in the world, and we have an amazing, super global, super diverse program that touches on every facet of love of the ocean, of surfing, of everything, and we screen so many films, and this cannot be done without the help of the Surf Film Festival Committee. So I'd like them to stand up as I know. We got Crystal Thornburg Homcy right there. Thank you, Crystal. And then Manny Aloha as well on our committee. There he is. Thank you guys so much. We always love having local talent in our festival, and we really want to show that this is a global festival and that this program deserves to be seen everywhere and by everyone, and we're very happy to share it with our community here. And of course, at the very end of our festival, we have our closing event, Surfing Made in Hawaii. which is a talk story which has been held by our longtime collaborator, Anna Trent Moore, at the Bud Brown Film Archives. If you guys have never come to one of our closing nights, it's definitely a real big treat. She has organized a legendary panel of surfers who will be with us on that night to talk story. And you get to see really rare footage from Bud Brown, who is an amazing filmmaker and who shot many of our local surfers from Hawaii all around the world. And with that, I want to get to what we're all here for tonight. A few years ago, we lost an amazing pillar in our community, an amazing cinematographer, photographer, filmmaker, and just a great person. And we're so honored to be able to honor him tonight through a screening of the film Fluid Combustion 3. And none of this would be possible without the help of one of our longtime collaborators and someone who I think is doing very, very important work in the world of surf cinema in terms of preserving it and getting it out there and making sure people see these amazing works from the past. So please join me in giving a very, very, very warm welcome to Derek Hoffman.
Aloha everyone. First off, I want to thank Sarah and Crystal and the amazing group here at the Honolulu Surf Film Festival. We're in the Doris Duke Theater. I don't know if everyone's been in this theater, but it's a magical place. And I just want to thank everyone for coming out. I'd like to actually thank some people personally. I would like to, let me just start off with Lily Newton. Larry's daughter is here in the front row. It also happens to be Lily's birthday tonight. I'd also like to thank Lily's mother, Ricky Newton, who's also here, and very grateful to have both of you here tonight. We also have Rick Haynes and his wife Michelle. Rick is Larry's brother, and I'm going to have him come up and say a few words after I'm done here, but they flew in from California to come and basically celebrate amazing human Larry. I also want to thank Terry Hui, Abe, and all the boys. There's like 20 Hawaiian Water Patrol out here today, and super grateful you guys could make it tonight. If any of you guys knew Larry and there was any kind of contest going on, or he was working on maybe a movie with Mike Prickett. Mike Prickett's here also. Thank you, brother Mike, for coming out. Larry spent a lot of his life on the back of a jet ski with these boys here, and they can, if you've never been out in big waves, you've been on the back of a jet ski, let me tell you, the drivers of those skis is what enables most of the photographers to get those amazing images. So besides saving lives, we would just want to thank all you guys for coming out. Mark Cunningham's here too. I want to thank Mark and all the lifeguards, but specifically the boys from the North Shore and West Side. Thank you very much. Thank you. Super grateful. Larry would be so honored that you guys came out tonight. And I see a lot of other awesome faces. I know a lot of you guys drove from the North Shore and other West Side, like Pake and Chris, and thank you guys for coming out. We're going to do a little talk story after with Brian Bielmann, myself and Hank, and possibly Mike Prickett if he feels like saying a couple of fun. He's got some good stories too. So hang around after the movie. The movie you're going to see tonight is Fluid Combustion 3 Live It. So Larry and myself actually made the first Fluid Combustion together in 1994, and then Larry continued to make movies. He actually made 5 movies in this Fluid Combustion series. This is the 3rd one. He also made a couple other movies. He made a locomotion film called The Essence of Surfing, and he made an incredible movie called Kauai Boys. And if anyone of you guys know, like, you cannot film on Kauai at all. So Larry, that just shows Larry's reach with Titus and other boys, and just being able to basically work with all kinds of amazing humans. And another thing I want to say about Larry is, Larry, you correct me if I'm wrong, there's a lot of photographers, cinematographers, ocean safety, lifeguards. Has there been anyone besides Larry that spent as much time in the water, specifically a pipeline? So for anyone who swam up there, been in the back of the ski, Larry would be out there all day. Like he was just an amazing human. I have so much love and gratitude for everyone coming out here to honor our good friend. He was one of my dearest friends, as I know many of you. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking and we're going to get to the movie. But you're about to watch Fluid Combustion Through Live It. This is what I wanted to let you know. If you wanted to watch this movie or any of Larry's movies, fortunately, before Larry passed, which as Sarah said was basically February of 2023, we were able to get Larry's movie masters, make them digital, and have them streaming on this new platform we created called Honolulu TV. So if anyone wanted to watch any of Larry's movies, besides what you're going to watch tonight, you can go there and just check out some of Larry's work. As you'll see tonight, Larry loved to shoot in the water, and this movie has some of the most incredible water cinematography. And this movie is going to be 30 years old next year. So it's just a testament for what Larry's done in the surfing world. So before I have Rick come up here and say something, I want to ask you guys to do me a huge favor, and I'm going to just do a little video. I have Rick Haynes here who wants to say a couple words. This is Larry's dear brother.
Thank you. Derek, again, thank you so much for everything you've done for our family. Aloha, everyone. Tonight, we gather here to celebrate and remember a truly remarkable soul, my brother Larry. He was more than just a surf photographer. He was a lover of life, storyteller through his lens, and someone who found his true happiness riding waves and capturing their beauty. Larry loved Hawaii. He loved the surf, the ocean, the spirit of aloha that surrounds us all. For him, Hawaii wasn't just a place. It was a home, a sanctuary, a source of inspiration. His camera was his voice, and through it, he shared the magic of Hawaii's waves and the people who ride them. He never really worked a day in his life because what he did was his passion. Surfing, photography, capturing moments. This was his life. And he shared that passion with all of us, inspiring countless others to see the beauty in the ocean and the aloha spirit. Tonight, as we remember Larry, let's celebrate the love he had for Hawaii, for surfing, and for life itself. His spirit will always be part of the surf community and the waves we cherish so much. Mahalo for honoring his memory and for being part of this beautiful tribute. Aloha.
Okay, so we're going to start the movie. It runs about 55 minutes. Enjoy this visuals masterpiece, I would call, and stick around for a brief talk story after the movie. But once again, mahalo for coming out in Brother Larry's honor. Thank you so much. I'm going to have a couple people come up. Brian Bielmann, Hank, and Mike Prickett. If you guys wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I'm going to say something real quick.
Okay, I'm going to have Mike's going to come up and just say something real quickly. Oh, Homcy, can you come up?
Yeah. Everybody's leaving.
Anyway, I'm not sure how many of you don't know Mike Prickett, legendary cinematographer, Emmy award-winning camera operator on the Hundreds of Waves, among many other things. Me and Mike have known each other a long time since Kaiser High School days, and like Larry and all of the photographers, we're all just like a big family.
Yep.
And the surfers. So anyway, Brother Mike, thanks for coming out.
Thanks. Thanks, guys. I wasn't going to say anything, but since it's Larry's little get-together, happy birthday, Lily. Lily's enjoying the cake. She's not sharing, so no one's going to get a slice of that. But no, that was cool. It was cool to see that show. I mean, I guess 30 years old, but it was really cool to see all the old surfers. You see McCoy looks so cute, and Kelly with hair and stuff. I know Kelly's here. I don't know. We could do a comparison, but he'll kill me for that. But I just wanted to say, I hope you guys really enjoyed it. And Larry's been such a special guy. They wanted to say something about Larry. I don't know if you guys knew Larry good, but he talked with his hands. He's always said and he saw the little clip of him at the beginning there when he's talking, the board's going by. But it reminded me, because I wasn't going to say anything, but it reminded me of this time when we were in Tahiti, in the very early days of Tahiti. And we drove over the end of the road. You should be able to drive over there. We were on the other side of the river. We were drinking, and then it started raining, and he goes, let's go get some post-on crew. So we drive up to the river. I'm driving, he's in the passenger seat, and he goes, with his hands, he's like, yeah, we'll just go right through it. And he does all those little hand motions and all this stuff, and the river's kind of raging, right? So we gun it through, and we're in this like Jeep, and we're gunning through, and all of a sudden, and then the thing just kind of stops. And then he starts rolling his window up, like water going, and we start side slipping down the river. And then he goes, there's a sunroof. So he climbs out the sunroof, and we're standing on top of this roof, and all he wanted was a post-on crew. And then we ended up having to swim for it. So we swam across the other side of the river, and this guy with this tractor saw us, and he ended up pulling us out of the river and with this thing. And then at the very end, after all that, he goes, hey, you guys want some post-on crew? And then Larry's like, so it's like the whole thing was worth it to him. So that was my car. I got ruined. So if you ever go to Tahiti now and they say no cars allowed past there, that's Larry and mine's fault. That's it. Thanks.
Hey, Brian, Hank, and Homcy, you guys want to come join me up here? Hank, you were in the movie. Did anyone see Catch Hank on the back of the ski? That was like 30 years ago. Hank, pioneer. Zine out there. On the far right, you have Hank, Brian Steffen, another epic, legendary photographer from back in the day. And in the middle, you have a super special friend of ours, Dave Homcy, the husband of Crystal, who helps put this amazing event on. And Dave, like myself, is a cinematographer, and they're just going to share a couple stories about Larry, kind of like Mike just did. So who wants to start out?
I'll start out. I want to set up Hank I want to set a story up for Hank. No, I will. So, first of all, Hank and Larry were joined at the hip. In Tahiti, there was somebody there that actually named a dog Larry Hank. So those guys were all together, and he's got all these crazy stories from them being out in big waves and everything else. And Hank was actually probably the first guy to ever be shooting out on the outer reefs on a jet ski. And I remember one year, I can't remember, it was a while ago, and we were all at the shore break, and Waimea was so big that they weren't even going to hold the eddy. It was gigantic. And I was sitting up kind of shooting shore break and aiming that angle. And all of a sudden out of the blue, we're looking out there, we're like, is there two guys out on the jet ski? And we're looking out there, it's like, holy crap, who is it? And they're barely getting over these waves. They were so big. And I'm just watching, and we're like, who is that? These guys are crazy. And then all of a sudden this guy behind me goes, that's my friend Hank. He's been all up all night. He's still drunk.
And something else.
And so I'm not saying Larry was either, but Larry's your partner in crime. He was right there with you. So Hank, some stories about like being out in the big waves with Larry? Don't be shy.
Larry was if anyone knew Larry, he was a living cartoon character. When he would explain stories, he was like Mike Prickett was saying, he would get into it, he would talk about his tamana, the chicken skin, everything, and spitting on you, and kicking you, and whatever he could do to tell the story, he would just get into it 100%. But that day with Waimea Bay was Larry was kind of a guy, he was my tow partner forever and ever. Nobody wanted to go out with Larry, Larry was always just half tank, full throttle, we called him. If you're going to go out with Larry, something's going to happen, if it's going to be good or bad, but you're in for it, you commit with Larry, and you deal with it, pretty much. But the big day at Waimea was pretty sketchy, it was super big, it was probably the biggest buoys they've ever had in the history of 50 years of history of surfing. And me and Larry are out there.
Yeah, then you guys go over to outside log cabins, and that's when the same day you get a shot of Bradshaw. Excuse me, Ken Bradshaw.
Yeah, it was just one of those days where we were riding old jet skis, we barely had life jackets, we barely had rescue sleds, And I saw Larry going to the harbor, and I was like, oh, I gotta look at the waves before I go. But no, I didn't look at the waves. I just followed Larry. I figured, you know, be with Larry, and we had two is better than one. So I mean, the waves are 35 feet, and you know, anything can happen. You know, you risk your life. It's 35 feet. But we just got lucky. We just saw this set come from out of nowhere. We call it the black set. And the whole horizon just went black. Everything went black. And it was one of those things, if you didn't make it over, you know, it's all every man for themselves. But we got lucky and made it over. And everybody wanted to stay out there, and I was like, let's get the heck out of here. I'm not getting paid enough to be out here. But then later on that day, my friend called me up, and we went out through Backyards Channel. It was 25, 35 feet, as big as it ever gets. And we had a good day. It was a good day. Larry was definitely one of those guys, you know, if you go out with Larry, anywhere you go, something's bound to happen. You know, you're in Tahiti together, like Brian said, they named a dog after me. I was with Larry and Johnny Boy, and the whole time I was with Johnny Boy and Larry, they were in the front seat, I was in the back seat. They wanted to scrap and fight the whole time. And it was, they called each other out, you know, numerous times, but they didn't fight, you know. They played basketball one time, it was more like football basketball. But yeah, I miss Larry a lot. He was my mother from another brother. And
your mother from another brother?
And he was one of those guys too, like he was a super lightweight guy, so one or two beers he's drunk, you know. He didn't want to hang out with me too much, but he did more babysitting me than anything else. So I was always good to have Larry on my side.
I mean, for me, I just always remember, no matter what, if I would swim out, if Larry was in the water, you know that you were going to have the best day ever. Because he would just uplift you, and he was always stoked. He just always had this passion and happiness in the water, whether it was surfing, he'd paddle out at sunset, he'd have his GoPro, he'd be stand-up paddling, he'd have his GoPro on his stick, he'd drop in behind you and film you on waves, and he just had so much love for life. And I just love seeing him in the water.
Let's talk about that head cam, that helmet camera.
That thing was huge.
Yeah, this helmet camera, you take off behind guys, and the thing weighed at least 10, 12, 15 pounds. And he would pull in behind guys in the barrel and just get pounded. And he would love it. He would come up laughing.
I was calling him the oyster. He was like an oyster. You couldn't damage the guy. He would go over the falls, I'd see him just boom. He'd just come up with a big smile on his face, just so stoked all the time.
He was a beast. I remember seeing him at sunset, and he'd just be shooting. He would not stop shooting and literally just get sucked up. Oh my God. Still filming the whole time.
I saw him go over the falls in Tahiti one time. I was like, what the? And he just comes up with his big old smile on his face. And you couldn't hurt the guy. It was insane.
I'm still waiting to see that footage of Larry. He went over the falls at Chopo, shooting Manoa Drole on at least a 10-foot wave, and he said he was filming the whole way upside down.
Where is it, Derek? Where is it? Where is it?
I don't remember now.
It's somewhere.
You know, surf photography, it used to be really competitive because there was a lot to get. You know, you wanted to get the cover, the ads, all that stuff. And it's not like that anymore. There's not a whole lot of magazines. There's not a lot to compete over, but it was really competitive back then. Hank and me, I remember, how about Tahiti? We were like one of the first guys to go to Tahiti, and me and Hank almost got in a beef over there, and it's like we didn't even talk to each other for like a year. And now it's like, after that, there was like 1 million guys, but we had it to ourselves. We were like, you know, fighting over who was going to be there that week, you know, surfing or surfer. But Larry, speaking of being competitive, you know, Larry used to go, he'd sit on the ski, he'd be with Terry Ahui, and he'd sit on the ski, and he'd go right up into the sweet spot, and we'd all be in the back behind him screaming, Larry, get out of there, none of us can see. And Terry's like, hey, Larry, man, you know, come on, man, all the guys are yelling at me. He says, I don't care, man, we're staying right here, we're not moving. So that's why he has such great footage.
Wherever Larry sat at Pipeline, you didn't want to be near him. He was always 10 feet, 15 feet deeper than anyone would want to be. And even though he was getting on my head, he loved it. He would love getting pounded and get washed in, come back around and do another lap. He loved it. He loved getting pounded.
He just laughed at it the whole time.
Yeah.
How about the Eddie Aikau about, I don't know, 3 of them ago or something. And I was out in the water that day, and Larry was out there with Abe and Strider on the back. Strider was doing the live announcing. And I remember sitting out there with Makaha Craig, and it was absolutely terrifying. It wasn't one of those days you're like, yeah, we're out here, we're gonna get the shot. We were all just looking at each other like, oh my God, you know? But I still remember, I thought I was in the gnarliest spot ever, and I looked down underneath me as the waves breaking, and there's Abe, Larry, and Strider. And Larry's just hanging in there, just, you know what I mean? And I just remember telling my driver, do not go where those guys are. Just stay. And we were in a gnarly spot, but Larry just, you know, the bull.
He was a good talker. He loved to talk, and there was one incident where we're sitting outside the Outer Reefs and we're talking. He's on his phone. He's dealing with his cameras, and all of a sudden there's Larry heads up. Here goes a 10-footer wave. We call it Twisted Sisters between backyards and phantoms. And this 10-foot wave popped up, and it was top to bottom. And I said, Larry, heads up. And he looked, and the ski wasn't even started, but somehow he got it started. And we almost talked about duck diving boats in Tahiti and see if you could make a wave, you know. And he tried to duck dive this wave. I seen him come up, the back of the wave, his bottom of the ski went like this. But somehow the lanyard, the kill switch got ripped off, and he lost power, so he was over the falls. But he would have made it if the lanyard would have stayed in for sure. And in Tahiti, we've always talked about, you know, being in these close calls when our friend Bielmann Drolet used to drive this boat, and we talked about duck diving boats through waves. And you get in that situation sometimes where you get caught off guard and you don't have a choice, and the safest place is to duck dive and go through.
You know, when you shoot in the water and stuff, you really try to pace yourself because you can't typically put it in whole day, so you kind of time when you're going to go in and out. And I mean, when I think of Larry, I think of him on the ski a lot in some gnarly situations. But even if he wasn't on a ski, then he would just swim out. So it wasn't like Larry just went out when he had to work. He just, if there was waves, he wanted to be out there. And he'd have his goggles and his helmet, giant housing, just swimming out there.
Whole sea monster.
The goggles thing was amazing.
Yeah.
It's like he would sit so deep a pipe, he would crack helmets getting slammed on the reef.
And speaking of the cracked helmet, there's actually a scene in this movie we did, Fiberglass and Megapixels, where Larry talks about that day where he basically says he had an out-of-body experience. He got slammed so hard that he actually saw himself from above looking and floating with the bubbles around. And then next thing you knew, he just kind of clicked in. But Lily, you have that helmet, that one where he's broken, and it's crazy. I don't know if Mark's still here. Mark Cunningham's back there, because Mark, I believe, was the first person that saw Larry, and you know, knowing Larry, okay, I gotta get back out there. Mark's like, hey, hang on, man. Your helmet's broken. You know, and Larry's like, okay, I got my camera. And Mark's like, chill out, bro, you gotta go in, you know. And it's just Larry's, just like you were both all explaining, like Larry never wanted to stop. He could go and go and go, and he was the most amazing swimmer in waves of consequence I've ever seen in my life, besides guys like Mark and the water safety. I mean, for a cameraman, Larry was at another level. And as Hank said, you never really wanted to be too close to Larry. When he was younger, I thought he was way more wild. He till the day he passed, he was at that same level. And he used to shoot with longer lenses, so maybe he wasn't in the pit as much. But anyway, quick story. Larry and I made Fluid Combustion 1 in 1994. And it was interesting because we're in the editing suite, right? And Larry, and I'm like, Larry, we can't have all water footage. Like, but we got the best water footage. I go, yes, but we need some land footage, so we need to, you know, mix it up a bit. You just can't have constant water footage because it's kind of maybe boring. Anyway, we got into a little scuffle, just verbally, and it was the craziest thing ever, because I look back on that time with Larry and just being actually very honored that I was able to work together with him, because as Brian said, he was very competitive out there. You know, everyone's trying to get the shot, get the job. Anyway, we do miss Larry, and I'm just so grateful that, you know, Larry's family is here, and the special day for Lily's birthday, and everyone who just is still sitting around. We really appreciate you guys coming out. Is there anything anyone wants to say about Larry? Does anyone feel in the audience they want to?
Did he save quite a few people?
Huh?
Did he save quite a few people?
That's a great question. I'm not sure how many people Larry may have saved. He probably was on the back of skis with other people. Oh, you know what? Ray Hollowell.
Yep.
Ray Hollowell. Yeah, so that's a heavy story. Wow. I don't know the whole story, I wasn't there, but basically Ray Hollowell, a friend of Larry's who shot a lot of video, lives on the west side, I believe.
Diamond Head.
Oh, Diamond Head, pardon me. Anyway, Ray basically got hit and was unconscious, and Larry was the first person to see him. And by Larry's grace of God and his just swimming ability, was able to, I believe, help Ray stay afloat. I don't know, and there was skis at that time because it was early 2000s. I believe it was like 2002. Anyway, so yeah, Larry did save people.
He was as big as a beach whale. He was filled up with water.
Yeah, you remember that story good.
That's my good cameraman from Hawaiian Extreme.
Okay, yeah, so Larry has graced us all with just not his, besides his cinematography, his friendship, his love, and is just, he's a great human, and there's no one like Larry, and there never will be, so we love you, Larry.
I have one more story I was going to tell you, and it's about kind of right at the end when Larry passed away, and there's another photographer named Art Brewer. He's my all-time favorite photographer, and he had passed away a few months before, so finally in the winter, a lot of us photographers got together, and you know, we kind of got in a big circle and said some prayers, and we looked down the ocean, and there was like, you know, rainbows and dolphins jumping, and John paddled out all by himself in the late afternoon and was doing these incredible cutbacks, and we're like, this is insane, you know, it's just like unicorns, you name it, you know, and so we're all just super stoked on all that, and we're just kind of talking after the circle, and then all of a sudden Hank gets this phone call, and you could just see the look on his face, and it was like, what's going on, Hank? And he goes, Larry Haynes just had a heart attack. And we were like, holy crap, Hank couldn't even talk. I just got all of us back together in a circle, and we just prayed for Larry. We didn't even know, I mean, all of us, it was so confusing for the whole night and everything. Nobody knew what was going on or what had happened, and of course, you know, he had passed away. But 2 days later, I think, I got a call from the lifeguards, and they said, hey, Brian, could you come down and get his stand-up paddle and take it to his wife? I'm so sorry, I forgot your name again. Ricky. And I said, yeah, absolutely, I can do that, you know? And so he goes, by the way, there's a GoPro on the paddle. He goes, there's a GoPro on the paddle, and I was like, there's what? So I went down there and I got all this stuff, and before I even looked at it, I called you up and I said, look, I don't know what to do with this exactly, you know, because it's Larry's, and I don't know if you want us to look through it and see whatever. And she said, yeah, go through it and see what's on there. So I had an assistant at the time, and we looked through the whole thing, and it went from backward to forward. So the first photos, the videos we're watching were at the end of the video. And he kept all of us catching waves, and then he wouldn't catch it. We must have looked at 20 waves, and the very last wave, which was the very first wave he caught, he catches this wave and rides it, and then he sits back down on the board, and he looks right in the camera and smiles, and he reaches over and turned it off. And I just started crying right there. It was just the most amazing thing. And we put together this beautiful, beautiful, short little video, you know, that we just said goodbye to Larry and everything, and the whole world got to see it. We posted it everywhere, and you just told me, just Larry would want everybody to see it, just get it out there. And it was just such a blessing. It was like, as you could feel Larry in here tonight, we could feel Larry when that whole thing was going on. So, I don't know, it was just a really, really beautiful way. Everybody got to see his last wave, and it was pretty darn cool. And I mean, Larry to go out surfing, that's pretty much what I would think that Larry would want more than anything. So, but I just thought I'd share that with you guys.
I feel Larry in the water every time I go in the water just because we were that close. Yeah, I don't know if you saw that footage that Michael Willis got the rope wrapped around his leg on the jet ski. Well, Larry did that to my leg. I went to go pick up the rope, it bounced up, it went around my leg, it cinched tight. Larry kept me gassing it, and I basically dead stopped him. He went flying off the ski, and I almost lost my foot. But luckily, it didn't lose it. That was the end of the session for sure.
I remember shooting pipeline, and Larry was in front of me. I was like, Larry, you know what? Would you get the hell out of there? And he turns around and he goes, why don't you come over here and make me? And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. Anyway, I'm just wondering if Larry Hank's still alive in Tahiti.
20 years ago. We used to go to Tahiti a lot, me and Larry. Larry was the first guy to go, actually. We went to Quicksilver guys with Riley and Mickey and Marvin and everybody. But then we started all going, all through the 90s.
All of us were the first crews to go to so many places. Tahiti. Not the first, but actually, Hank, you were probably the first guy to shoot.
Cover of Eric Barton?
Yes, cover of Eric Barton. But even before that, Mike Stewart found the place, told Ben Severson. Ben Severson took Hank over. And I think it was like 2 weeks later, Ben came and got me and took me over. So bodyboarding was like the first thing you saw.
1993.
Of Chopu. And then after that was his cover of Eric Barton, which the whole world was just...
94.
Yeah, so we really did get to. You know, it's funny. I remember looking at, I was reading Ernest Hemingway, and I was like, my gosh, I wish I could have lived Ernest Hemingway's life. He got to live in France and all these places when it was super cool and inexpensive and everything else. And then I was like, wait a minute, we did do that. We did that with Tahiti and Fiji and Indo and, all those places. So, yeah, Larry lived a fantastic life. He made the most out of every minute.
Thanks, guys. Anyone have anything you want to say? We're going to wrap it up now. Betty.
I'm just wondering how many videos there are in that series. And they're all 3x4, right?
4x3, yeah. So Larry made 5 videos into the Combustion. The first one was in '94, and the last one was in 2000. And then in between that, he made 2 other movies. One for Local Motion called The Essence of Surfing, and then he made The Kauai Boy. So Larry made 7 movies.
Are they all posted on that?
They're all on Honolulu TV. They're all streaming. Yeah. So we're honored to have Larry's movie streaming, and we actually manage all of Larry's archives. And Larry shot so much stuff. Our goal and mission is to really do our best to get it organized, and we manage a lot of archives, so much so that we're actually going to start the Honolulu Archives Foundation in the future with some help of people, because this is much bigger than myself, my brother, and my friends. So we just want to make sure we can perpetuate these legacies of our friends. Some with us, some not with us, and we feel archives, and I'm not sure if a lot of you people are aware, but back in our day, we're still around, you shot things on film or tape. You never saw it on your phone until like weeks later, maybe months, maybe years. Yeah, there was no phones, yeah. So I mean, there was basically no digital, so everything was analog. So what we're doing is taking all the analog, turning it digital, because you need it to be digital to look at it. So we just want to keep perpetuating archives, and more importantly, perpetuating the lives of our friends we love, like Larry. And anyway, thanks everyone for coming out. It's really awesome for you guys to stick around. And maybe, is that dessert good? Okay, so good news, there's dessert for everyone at the top of the stairs. But thank you all, drive safe, aloha, and Larry, be super honored you all came out to give him some love. Thank you. Happy birthday, Larry!